The story of Ethan and Lena began the way most quiet tragedies do, without warning, without intent, and without anyone realizing they had already stepped into something irreversible. It was a late autumn evening when he first noticed her, a fleeting glance through a coffee shop window, the kind of moment you don't recognize as significant until much later. She was sitting by herself, reading, her hair tucked loosely behind her ear, a soft, unbothered calm surrounding her. She wasn't doing anything extraordinary, yet there was something about the way the world seemed to bend around her presence that made Ethan pause. From that moment, his world found a new center. He started visiting the same cafe more often, telling himself it was coincidence, that he liked the atmosphere, the smell of roasted beans, the hum of conversations. But really it was her, Lena, the girl with the book and the quiet eyes that seemed to hold galaxies he could never name. She noticed him, of course, but only in the way you notice a familiar face on a train, present but never personal. She'd smile politely when their eyes met, a simple gesture that meant nothing to her but everything to him. And in those small exchanges, Ethan began to mistake kindness for connection. Weeks passed, and what began as curiosity turned into quiet devotion. He learned her habits without meaning to, the way she always ordered chamomile tea, how she lingered before leaving, how her laughter, when it escaped her, felt like sunlight breaking through gray clouds. Ethan told himself it was enough just to be near her, to exist in the same spaces, to feel, even distantly, part of her world. But love, when one-sided, doesn't stay silent forever. It grows restless, desperate for acknowledgement. It wants to be seen, to be heard, to mean something. So one day he spoke to her. It was nothing grand, just a comment about the book she was reading. She looked up, surprised, and smiled that same polite smile. They talked for a few minutes, and for Ethan, those few minutes stretched into eternity. Every word she said became something he replayed later in his mind. Every expression etched into memory. He didn't know it yet, but that conversation would be the beginning of his unraveling. As weeks turned into months, Ethan and Lena grew friendly, or at least, he believed they did. She was kind, open in a reserved way, treating him with the same warmth she offered anyone. But for Ethan, every word, every glance carried weight. He mistook politeness for affection, attention for intimacy. He began to build a version of her in his mind, not Lena as she was, but Lena as he wanted her to be. In his imagination, they shared the same thoughts, the same rhythm, the same quiet love that never needed to be spoken aloud. But the truth was simpler. She liked his company, perhaps, but her heart was elsewhere, not with him, not even near him. There were signs, of course. The way her laughter seemed lighter when she spoke to others. The small distances she kept. The way her replies to his messages grew slower, shorter, more hesitant. But Ethan didn't want to see them. He chose to believe in a version of the story where love could be earned through persistence, where devotion was proof of destiny. And so he waited. He waited for her to see him the way he saw her. He waited for her to return the depth he had already fallen into. He waited for something that was never coming. Winter arrived, and with it came a silence between them, not the peaceful kind, but the kind that hums with things unsaid. They still met sometimes, but the spaces between meetings stretched longer. She seemed distant, her eyes elsewhere. And Ethan, desperate not to lose her completely, tried harder. Small gestures, thoughtful messages, the quiet attempts of someone clinging to something already gone. But love is not something that grows in the soil of expectation. It wilts there. Ethan began to feel the first cracks inside himself, a loneliness that deepened each time she smiled without meaning it. Each time she drifted away mid-conversation. Each time he realized she was being gentle not because she cared, but because she didn't want to hurt him. He began to write. Letters he'd never send. Thoughts too heavy to say out loud. Maybe if I keep loving you quietly, he wrote one night, you'll eventually feel it too. But she didn't. And the more he gave, the more the silence grew. There's a certain kind of pain that comes from being invisible to someone you see so clearly. It doesn't explode, it lingers. It seeps into your days, turning moments into echoes. Ethan began to drift from his own life. Friends noticed he was quieter. His art, his photography, lost its light. He started spending evenings walking through the city, camera in hand, searching for her reflection in strangers, her voice in the sound of rain. Every photograph he took seemed to hold a trace of her. Every frame became a confession. He couldn't speak. And in that stillness, love turned into something else. Not affection, but ache. Not warmth, but weight. He told himself that real love endures anything. But endurance isn't love. It's longing refusing to die. One evening, he saw her again by chance, as always. She was laughing with someone else. Someone who made her glow in a way Ethan never could. He didn't interrupt. He just watched from across the street, camera at his side, heart quiet but heavy. And for the first time, he saw her clearly, not as the person he had built his mind, but as the one she truly was, separate, untouchable, free. In that moment, something in him broke, not in pain, but in clarity. Love, he realized, is not possession. It's not something to be won or deserved. It's not measured by effort, nor guaranteed by feeling. Sometimes, it simply isn't meant for you, no matter how much you wish it were. He lowered his camera, turned away, and walked into the night, the city lights blurring through the quiet rain. He didn't know it yet, but that was the first night his love began to fade, slowly, silently, mercifully. Watch out for part 2 when Ethan decides to tell Lena about his feelings. Subscribe for more video.